Zimbabwe's official opposition, Citizen Coalition for Change, is emboldened by its performance in the recent by-elections, in which it claimed two-thirds of the vacant local government and parliament seats. The new party, popularly known as Triple C, is now gunning for more support ahead of next year's general elections. Party spokesperson Fadzai Mahere joins me now from the capital city, Harare, to tell us more about their massive campaign. Fadzai, good evening. Good to have you on tonight on In Focus. So you believe you can be able to harness the momentum garnered during this by-election time to drum up support for next year's general election. How are you going to do that, considering the fact that your campaigns already are limited in as far as where you can go and where you can gather by the officials?
Absolutely, yes, Thabo. We are extremely confident that we can win the 2023 harmonized elections, especially if they are free and fair. Now, it's no secret that the Triple C trounced both ZANU-PF and MDC established parties, notwithstanding that we're only 2 months old. And this was obviously despite the odds. We've got huge problems in the country because the electoral management body, ZEC, had a shambolic voters' roll. They were favoring ZANU-PF left, right and center. ZANU-PF was abusing the police service to ban our rallies. The state media just refused to give us any coverage, notwithstanding that Section 62 of the Constitution requires them to give us fair and equal access. So the huge task, notwithstanding the victory that we enjoyed in the recent by-elections, is for us to place the electoral reform agenda right at the priority list of citizens at the moment. It has to be high up in the national discourse, and we're going to use all tools available to us to ensure that we fight for electoral reforms. We're going to use legal mechanisms. We're going to use our right to demonstrate and peacefully present a petition in terms of Section 59 of the Constitution, and we're going to continue to mount political pressure. We're obviously lobbying SADC and the entire region because, when continue to ignore this.
Electoral.
First and foremost, we want officers who work for ZEC who are not. We demand a turned away on. We also demand that our polling agents be allowed free and equal access to polling stations, and that So in South Africa, for example, the data suggests that there are as many as 3 million Zimbabweans in South Africa. We call upon them to all ensure that they are registered and that they turn up in their masses on voting day. It's one day, it may be a long queue, but it's the queue that's going to end all queues. So we really call upon the diaspora to participate, and no citizen should be left behind. President Nelson Chamisa has said time and again that every single citizen has an obligation to participate in fighting for, the transformation we also desperately seek and hope to attain when we win in 2023.
Yeah. What's your view? Is this going to be a two-horse race, or are you seeing the other opposition parties also coming into play?
Oh, it's a two-horse race, and there is simply no other player to talk about. And the evidence of this, obviously, is the by-election where no other party attained a single seat. The MDC, which is led by a Mr. Monzora, got 0 seats, 0% of the vote, notwithstanding that they claim to have been in existence since 1999. They were given illicitly all the political party funding. They, with the assistance of soldiers, took over the old MDC Alliance HQ. They've been carrying out recalls. They've been abusing the legal system. All the shenanigans available to ZANU-PF were employed to prop up this candidate, and he failed to garner a single seat. And this is in a by-election which had over 140 seats available. They failed to get a single one. So it's very clear that it's a two-horse race. There are only two contenders, especially for the position of president. It's only a contest between Nelson Chamisa and whoever ZANU-PF puts up. And we're confident that the citizens, strongly support Mr. Chamisa. And if we do all the work that we've set out to do, we will be able to attain the 6 million votes that we require in order to win in 2023.
Yeah. What do you make of the comments of the ZANU-PF spokesperson, Christopher Mutswangwa, saying that where they won with huge margins, and they will, this shows that rather the people's continued support and belief in President Mnangagwa's development programs?
Well, that's a complete misrepresentation by Mr. Chris Mutswangwa. In fact, the record reveals that we received over 60%, in fact close to 2/3 in both parliamentary and council by-elections, which shows that even though the CCC is only 2 months old, we've made huge inroads into territory that was traditionally held by MDC and ZANU-PF. More fundamentally, we're starting to make inroads slowly but surely and steadily in rural areas. Take Binga, for example, where Mr. Mnangagwa pulled all the stops. He banned the CCC from hosting a rally there. He went personally to conduct a rally, though poorly attended. He obviously unlawfully exercised vote buying, gave the citizens, bicycles, and notwithstanding this, we beat them by over 10,000 votes. So this clearly shows that the citizens are sick and tired. And in instances where ZANU-PF won, it was obviously in a very disputed and contested way. So take Epworth, for example, where they had a completely shambolic voters' roll, and thousands of our supporters were actually turned back and simply did not appear on the voters' roll. So you can't, in a situation like that, as ZANU-PF say that you've won. If they were confident of victory, they would not be deploying violence. Violence is not the posture of a political party that believes that it's got popular support. They would not be abusing state institutions. Consistently, we see ZEC flouting the law, acting in a partial manner. We've seen ZANU-PF abuse the police service to ban our rallies. They should allow all our rallies so that we see who truly can win. Not to mention state media. Consistently, ZANU-PF is abusing state media to do the bidding of Mr. Mnangagwa when they've got an obligation to give us all fair and equal access. They'll cover Mr. Mnangagwa's rallies and completely ignore ours or misrepresent what we're saying. And that is not the posture of a political party that's confident of popular support.
You of course, are making campaign or election promises at a time when the economy is not doing well. In fact, businesses in Zimbabwe are closing down. Do you think you will get popular support, considering that you take a particular stance on the sanctions currently imposed on Zimbabwe, that stance being you support those sanctions?
Well, I mean, that's never been the position of the Triple C. In fact, our manifestos and policies are going to be unveiled in due course. But what is very clear is that, economic reform is urgent in Zimbabwe. And the clear messages that were sent by President Chamisa during the rallies and the lead up to the by-election were that the citizens would come first. We would champion the eradication of poverty. We would create an entrepreneurial society, and we are going to create a conducive environment for business. We're not going to have this overregulation, this, currency confusion we continue to see in Zimbabwe. And the difficulty for ZANU-PF when it comes to the sanctions debate is they continue to blame sanctions, and yet they fail to account for their own failures. Take corruption, for example, where it's clear and it's on record through the Zimbabwe Anti-Corruption Commission that ZANU-PF loots over $2 billion every single year. In addition to that, every single month, $100 million is lost to gold smuggling and illicit gold deals. So Zimbabwe is not a country that's poor. It's poorly managed. And before we start looking at external actors and what they're doing and not doing, let's look at the actual policies of government and the amount of failure we've seen. Just recently, the Minister of Local Government, ZANU-PF official, looted $9 million meant for water pumps. You cannot, when you loot that kind of money, then blame sanctions. We've got all sorts of cartel, state capture. These issues have been consistently raised in Parliament through the Public Accounts Committee. These issues have been raised by the opposition. They've been raised by the citizenry, by civic society, and there's simply no commitment on the part of Mr. Mnangagwa's illegitimate regime to make sure that they do right by the citizens. All that money that is looted is money that's supposed to go to building schools, ensuring the health delivery system is functioning, repairing roads and maintaining roads and building new roads, modernizing infrastructure, investing in public transport, and we simply don't see that. Zimbabwe is facing total collapse due to bad governance and mismanagement.
So, I believe you're saying you will be releasing your economic plan in due course,
yes.
But maybe as a teaser, give us what are your suggestions of how you rebuild this economy brick by brick back into some kind of recovery?
So there certainly is a need to sort out the fundamentals. We have gone back to the days of triple-digit inflation, something that had been sorted out. When we were when the MDC was in charge of the Ministry of Finance under Tendai Biti, inflation was a complete thing of the past. And in fact, during that time, there was a complaint of deflation. We also believe in the reform to the RBZ and state institutions. The currency, crisis that Zimbabwe faces. We've got all sorts of currency regimes prevailing at the moment. You've got an RTGS currency, an eco-cash currency. You've got US dollars flying around. All of that policy confusion is something that we will deal with. In addition to that, the continued policy flip-flopping on a number of, policy issues when it comes to the economy are things that we will, deal with. We will renew respect for property rights in all instances, because we believe that property rights and respect thereof are fundamental to a thriving economy. We're also going to ensure that the policies we introduce are conducive to an entrepreneurial society. Currently, you've got, terrible policies in as far as, the government taking, or appropriating unilaterally, currency and forex that's earned by exporters. All of that will be dealt with. There'll be rationalization of the mining sector to ensure that it starts to serve the many and not just a few. Currently, it's highly informalized and a huge corruption is taking place there. Also when it comes to agriculture, there'll be huge reform in that regard to ensure that there is security of tenure, because agriculture is central to all, any economic reform policy that a country can champion. So all of those things are part of the gamut of economic reforms we believe are central to ensuring that Zimbabwe can move forward.
Fadzai Mahere, mouthful there. Much appreciated. Thank you so much for coming on tonight. Well, we'll be watching closely what your campaign will entail and